went at the same time.
They went at the same time.
Facebook counts down for us now. That's really nice.
Well, welcome everybody to Monday Night Live. We are excited to join with you tonight and get back to our topics that we're always talking about. And we're excited. How's everybody doing out there?
Right? Is everybody okay?
We are in I think the week 3.
Mm-hmm.
Week 3 of quarantine, and week 3 of people being in their homes. Week 2, depending on where you're at. I think
Right.
St. George, we're technically in the ballpark.
Right around there somewhere.
But man, we're excited to be with you tonight. Like and share the videos and talk about them.
Mm-hmm. So today we thought we would talk to you guys about something that I know is a really powerful topic for me and one I'm still really learning how to dig into. So those are always really fun for me when we can do this.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight we wanted to talk a lot about trusting yourself and trusting your discerning voice and really listening to you. And we feel like this is a great topic for this period of time to really go over and talk about, first of all, what keeps us from trusting ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And take a minute and kind of talk about that, and then talk about some things that we can do to really build that confidence again in ourselves and really learn to listen to that discerning voice.
Yeah, and I mean, Dean, I think if we're talking about what keeps us from it, you kind of nailed it on the head with the confidence word, right?
Right.
Like it's just a lot of self-doubt. It's a lot of probably past guilt and shame and all sorts of stuff that comes into the ballpark, as well as constantly having something or someone or nebulous chirping in your ear, i.e., Facebook and Instagram. Hi, guys.
That can happen.
Right?
That can happen.
Or
Yeah.
your email inbox of this is what you should be doing and this is where you should be headed. And oh, you're a good person if you're like on this spiritual path or whatever it may be. Right.
And it can be very much tied up in of our goals in life are to always do what we can, to be the best, to do the best, to do the right thing, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And then there's that self-critique within ourselves that's constantly determining and telling us whether we're on track or off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look for external cues to back that up. We're looking for other people to tell us whether we're okay or whether we're not.
Right.
And then comparing, doing a lot of comparing, as you talked about. The social media has made it a lot easier nowadays. And it goes back and forth with a lot of these types of things. And so the challenge that we have, the problem that we have, is that we get to a point where we don't really listen to ourselves,
Right.
and really don't listen to our discerning voice.
Right. In fact, I know I've fallen into the trap. I've known many people who like quite literally get analysis paralysis. We cannot make a decision
Right.
based upon like our own discernment or our own gut intuition, right? Like we go searching for everybody's opinion in order to be able to come up to some solution.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that tends to be the biggest issue that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were talking, and I'm going to move this, we've got some people chiming in. Let me turn that off.
Okay.
And so it is, again, talking about this as being a long-term issue.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of you also brought up, the guilt and the shame
Right.
that can impact us. But there's also a lot of our own hurts and a lot of our own pains that drive this as well. And those hurts and pains from the past really do tend to dictate or affect how we feel.
Absolutely. And I think too that to kind of bring in another aspect of that, because I'm not exactly 100% sure where you were headed with that, but I think that has a lot to do with just what comes up for us inside of our head with our negative self-talk.
Right.
Right? Like, oh, so if you're like, if you beat yourself up for not being the smartest person in the room all the time, then maybe you tell yourself all the time that you're not smart enough to make your own decisions.
Right.
So that kind of past hurt and pain and
Past
trauma.
hurt. And a lot of it is that we tell ourselves, I can't trust myself, I can't be trusted, I've made these mistakes, etc. So some of the things that we want to talk about is really how to start to trust that using the coping skills that we've talked about in so many of our webisodes. We've talked about the 8 essential coping skills, and we're always tuning in and leaning into these. You can always go and pick up the book called The Key, You can go into Amazon and order it off of Amazon. Type in, that was me ranking the.
Go ahead and type it on.
Type it in.
Or we have them here. Come on in.
Or we have them here at Turning Leaf. So you got the key. And the key is essentially a story about a young man that goes on a journey. Oh, yep, there's the other feeds. Make sure it gets in front of all of them. And it talks about the 8 essential coping skills, and these are skills that help us to really hang on to what we're wanting to create for ourselves, rather than what we're afraid of creating for ourselves. So one of the things that we know about our discerning voice and using our discernment is understanding that our discernment is the head and the heart coming together in balance. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's the head and the heart coming in balance is simply because of this. The head we use because we know the things that are true. There are things that we've seen, things that we've experienced, the journey that we've been on in our lives. We have a lot of knowledge and we have a lot of information that we've accrued and acquired through that. Mm-hmm. However, our head alone is not a good tool. And the reason why is our head can be fooled. Our head can be messed with. Mm-hmm. I mean, we look at magicians.
Yes,
all
exactly
the time.
What I was just thinking of. Just illusionists, right?
Yes.
or you talk to some people that were at a crime scene or some sort of accident, and they've all got a different perspective because of where they were and the information that they had gathered, which doesn't necessarily make it untrue. It just doesn't make the whole picture.
It's just a part.
As to what actually happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So our heads, oftentimes, we can rule with our heads, but our heads oftentimes are the ones the head is really where a lot of our doubt is. Mm-hmm. And our head remembers a lot of the hurt and the pain and the memories, etc. But it's also very imaginative, and our imagination oftentimes is what scares us as well. So our brain and our head is a very, very powerful part of our discerning voice, but it's only half. Mm-hmm. The other half is the emotional side of who we are, the feeling part. Mm-hmm. And it's always, I've always been envious of mothers. Mothers have this mother's intuition or this ability. They'll be in the kitchen working, and then they'll just, something's wrong, and they're in checking on their kids. Mm-hmm. And it's all a feeling. It's not logical. They can't sit down and go, well, I heard this and I saw this and I knew this. It was, no, I just felt like something was wrong and I had to go check. Mm-hmm.
It's like an inner well of knowing instead of like an intellectual knowing.
So emotions are an energy. Mm-hmm. We know that. We know that our emotions are an energy. Man, I'm having a hard time talking today. Our emotions are an energy, and that energy in and of itself is what really radiates out from us. And people oftentimes have a hard time understanding this. And so it's really simple. If you're in a room full of people, mm-hmm. and somebody in a bad mood walks in, what happens?
The energy of the room shifts.
It shifts.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then we cannot deny that energy is something we can feel from other people.
Correct.
And so if we are leaning into that energy, if we're leaning into that emotional part of who we are, there are things that we can pick up and we can sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And in a way that oftentimes is not very easily articulated.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we'll feel things, but we can't logically explain them. Mm-hmm. So what happens if we just listen to the heart alone, sometimes the heart has been hurt, mm-hmm. and it doesn't want to be hurt again. So it's like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to experience that. So I don't want to open up again. I don't want to put myself in that scenario again or into that situation again.
Right.
But it also can be misinterpreting, and it can be very easily to explain or push feelings away. So
I think it can also be easily swayed. Sometimes, like we're just talking about, like the energy in a room can shift, and you could be in a space doing some soul searching, and someone can walk in, and if you're just sitting in your heart, they could shift that energy for you.
Very much. Yeah, that's a great point. And so really learning to put the two together, leaning in and trusting the heart and trusting the head is really the answer. Mm-hmm. And being able to go, okay, this is what's logically true. This is what I know to be true. This is what I feel to be true. And then really leaning into those two sources to help yourself make a decision. And to know, most importantly, to trust it.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Trust it, which is what we're talking about today.
Right. Really learning to trust yourself and trust your own decision-making process, especially in the world where it's so confusing today.
Mm-hmm. And I just, isn't that the hard part? I feel like sometimes we can just be like, yes, okay, this is it for sure. And then some other opinion will come in and slam up against you, and it'll shake your foundation and be like, was that really right? Did I really feel that way? Did I really know that? Was that really the path for me? And it's in those moments that it's super critical, as we're talking about like learning to trust ourselves and know ourselves, is to hang on. Right. Don't let it shake you.
Right.
Because the rest of the truth will come in and it will solidify it for you. But you got to hang on, because sometimes in life things happen, and it's to test us, to test our resolve, to test our ability, our compass, to see if we'll stay on that path, right? And so we see this a lot in coaching. Like someone will come in and say, I don't really know what I need to be doing with my life. I thought I should be doing this, but then this happened, and da-da-da-da. And oftentimes those obstacles are there in order to help us really solidify our resolve and to move through it, to be able to get that ultimate resolution on the other side of it. So if you're constantly swayed by the winds, it's going to be hard for you to really sink into your discernment.
Right. The other piece, as you're saying that, the part we have to remember too, is there's another factor that keeps it really from sinking in. Mm-hmm. And I love how you explain that, because that is so true. And allowing ourselves to not be swayed is critical.
Right.
But the other piece that's so important is to recognize this. Fear and discernment can't be in the same place at the same time.
Right.
Right? So a lot of people will come in and go, well, I can't tell if it's my discernment or if I'm just scared to do it. There's your answer right there. Because if you're in an energy or a state of fear, then you're not trusting your heart, you're not trusting your head. Mm-hmm. So we have to step away and go, well, if I pulled the fear out of it, and we have to ask ourselves questions, things like, well, if I had nothing to lose, what would be the result? Or what would be the worst case scenario if? And sometimes we have to walk it down to that path, not too far with we don't say, hey, imagination, show me all the horrible things. But we need to sometimes walk that through to remove the fear. But if we are in a state of fear, at the same time we're trying to process through something, then oftentimes that's going to be very, very hard. So the challenge I give people is, even if you can just get 5 minutes of clarity away from fear. So ground yourself, close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose 3 times, really ground yourself, pull yourself into the now, bring yourself into your body, bring yourself into the space that you're in right now that you're occupying. And at that moment, that's when you tune in and go, okay, this is what I know to be true. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I believe is the answer. And then sit with that and ask yourself, and if the answer feels good, if you feel strongly about it, then you act upon it. And so part of the other part that I want to add is, oftentimes with our discernment, it may ask us or tell us to do certain things that we may never understand, ever. You know, you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you feel this prompting, turn right. You're like, turn right? Okay, and you turn right, and you never see the result of it.
Right.
You never see the result of it. But that's a big important part, is building that relationship with your discerning voice. Yes. So your discernment starts to be more consistent and heard and knows that you're listening. The other thing is that sometimes I may turn right and smack into a car.
Which is down here. I was going to bring it up. Alyssa Ann says, so obstacles are here to help me.
Yes.
Keep going, Dean.
Yes. Obstacles are here to help you. And so if I get the prompting turn right, and I turn right and bam, I smash into a car, I may think, well, see, my discernment's not working. But it may be something that you are needing in your life to move you forward. That wreck or that accident may push you forward. It may create different shift in energy. And we have to remember that so many times we try to use our discernment, or we try to use our decision-making process to avoid discomfort.
Right.
But sometimes discomfort is exactly what you need. Sometimes that discomfort is what you need to move you to the next space from one to the other. Because if we don't experience pain, we never know that there's need for something to change.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where also with our discerning voice is just because I'm getting pain or I'm in pain or struggling with emotional pain, physical pain, whatever it may be, a mental pain, doesn't mean that my discernment isn't working or that I'm making bad decisions. It may be, well, this is exactly what you need.
Right, exactly. What growth are you getting from that? What lessons are you learning? How is it moving you forward in a way that you didn't even know was possible or that you needed?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, Dean, another piece for me that I'm trying to learn how to do right now is to just really always be open and being kind of an antenna, if you will, right? So you're talking about driving down the road and you're like, oh, turn right. So you turn right. So to have those opportunities to get those intuitive hits, for a lack of a better word.
I call them downloads.
Downloads, yeah. To get the downloads, to hear your discerning voice speaking to you, it's gotta be kind of a part of your awareness.
Right.
You gotta like lean into that, and however you choose to manifest that out in your life. If you pray, if you meditate, if you do moon rituals, whatever that you do, let your higher power know, hey, I'm really interested in getting better at this. I want to get better at trusting myself. I want to get better at hearing my discerning voice and being able to follow those promptings, those downloads as they come, right?
Yep.
And as you do that, you open yourself up to more possibility, and you're not just going to be scrolling through your Facebook feed or jamming out to your tunes in your car. Don't scroll through your Facebook feed in your car. Those were separate. There was a period in there.
There was a period.
There were two sentences.
Not a comma.
Not a comma.
And in addition, please read your Facebook feed. Yeah, we discourage that highly.
Yes, please be safe. But the point being, you've got it. If it's not in your awareness, you won't see it.
Right.
Like in your life. And so opening yourself up to that is going to also help increase your capacity and your ability to trust yourself, because you'll do it more.
Right. And that is the most important thing for you to recognize. And this is the last piece I wanted to add to our discussion today, is I know we're getting close on time. Here's another piece I want to add that I feel like is really critical for people to understand, is that your discerning voice is created and designed for you uniquely and specifically. So the way that Kate hears her discerning voice is different than the way I hear mine. Mm-hmm. The way she interprets hers is different than the way I interpret mine. There's a lot of factors that go into mm-hmm. that. There's gender, there's age, there's experiences, there's who we are, our makeup, our DNA, all these different things really do impact it in a unique, significantly different way. If that is true, then why is it when we get downloads, or why is it when we get this information, why is it when we hear our discerning voice that we turn to other people to validate it?
Yeah.
Right? And that's the part that I get concerned about is it's okay and it's important to ask and for support. Mm-hmm. It's okay for me, hey, Kate, this is what I'm feeling. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? But I can't base my decision solely off of whether she supports me or not. I've got to know that the information that I may be receiving is mine and it's unique to me, and to expect her to have the exact same feeling, the exact same thoughts, the exact same experiences, etc., is really unrealistic.
Right, I agree.
And as unique as you described, the crime scene where you've got all these people walking away with a million different points of view of what happened. It's the exact same mm-hmm. with our experience and our discerning voice here on this earth, on this earth, so to speak, on this rock. So my challenge to you is as you listen, as your discerning voice speaks to you, it's unique and it's yours. It's important to build that relationship. It's important to build that trust, and it's important to listen.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And trust yourself.
And trust yourself. Just do it.
Just do it.
We dare you. I love when you double dog dare people. So I snuck in and grabbed it.
Yes, you did. Well, we are running out of time, so.
Hey, by the way, if you want more than just 20-minute snippets from Dean and Kate, We've started a podcast.
Yes.
Woohoo! So look at our Facebook feed and our Instagram post. Gonna keep you updated every time we crank out a new one. So
yeah, they're a little bit longer. They're getting longer the more experienced we're getting. But we hope you like them and share them as well.
And we are still waiting to zero in on a name. So if you've got a cool idea for a name for our podcast, we'd love to hear it.
Yes. So again, thank you. Like and share our videos. Discuss this topic with those that you love in your life. I mean, heck, you ain't going nowhere.
Mine as well.
We'll see you guys next week on
Monday Night Live.
All right.
Bye.
I'll go up.
Okay.